Good evening and welcome to Keto Confab. It's Wednesday night and I'm sorry my camera is doing a crazy thing. So I'm going to have to turn my camera off for this week until I figure it out. And I am Elizabeth Hanson, and along with my husband, Scott Hanson, we do this support group for like-minded people who wish to live the keto lifestyle, specifically from the teachings of Dr. Bosworth, and from her books, The Keto Continuum and Any Way You Can. We discuss all sorts of topics. We don't try and sell anything here. We're just here to support each other. And it is January the 18th, and we are working our way through the workbook that Dr. Boz wrote to go along with her book, Keto Continuum. Now, last week, we started out in the workbook talking about finding our tribe and also writing our why. So if you're watching this and you haven't done those things, it would be good to go to your workbook and figure those out. Just as a short aside, finding your tribe is finding people who are like-minded or who are at least willing to support you in your attempt to live the keto lifestyle. Finding your why is the very strong reason as to why you wish to eat keto, whether that's to lose weight or to help with a health problem or whatever. We also went over what things you may want to have with you to support you. And one of those was the chronometer app on your phone or your computer, and also some keto supports such as BHB, either in the liquid you drink or the capsules you can take, or Epsom salts and MCT oils and lists of foods and things like that. Now this week, we're starting on page 20 of the workbook, and this workbook suggests that the best thing to do is to take your measurements before you begin. And now with a lot of people, they don't like to see how many inches their waist or their chest or their neck and hips and everything are. But it is a nice way to keep track of progress. There were times during my weight loss and getting healthy first 2 years of keto that the only thing that would change is I'd lose an inch off my waist or something. And that kept me going, that I could see that there was progress. And so taking measurements of your physical body, but also you want to do a measurement of how you are eating now. And so there's a space in the book here for a food diary that you total up your carbs for at least 3 days. This is going to be important because if you were like me in the over 200 club, you're going to have to ease into keto much easier than many other people do, because going from 400 carbs a day to 20 can be quite a shock to the body system and can cause some problems. So you will want to be sure to do your diet for at least 3 days and see what your total of carbs are. If you're over 200 carbs a day, typically in a typical day, then you're going to have to take it easier. If you're 200 carbs or less, then you can go, a little harder. Now, one of the next chart in the book is the BMI chart. I was awful on the BMI chart. It was, I don't even want to say what I was. But I'm not back to like normal yet, getting there, hoping to get there, wanting to get there. But I'm not there yet. So check where you are, because as you lose weight and inches and get healthier, your number will change. And then the next worksheet is the one where you want to look at write down your blood pressure, your BMI, your morning fasting glucose, your waistline, your neck circumference, your thumb shin print. I had a lot of swelling, and now I don't get too much, and a skin tag count. And so checking all over the body for different things can help you keep track. Now, the next portion of the workbook goes on to, oh, well, I should ask. Now, Tammy, did you do any of these measurements or anything when you first started keto, or have you done any lately? Oh, you're muted.
Well, I have a Keto Mojo, so I would do my morning fasting glucose and upload it, to the app that they have.
Mhm.
I measured my waistline every now and then. I did not bother with the neck circumference. I did take my thumb shin print, and I don't have, maybe just a few skin tags. It wasn't anything excessive.
Mhm.
I've gone in spurts of taking my blood pressure. Sometimes I'll take it, every day, but I probably haven't taken it for months now. And I have a smart scale that connects to an app, so it tells you what your BMI is when you step on the scale. So I didn't keep track of it in a chart like this, but I kept track of it in different ways.
Mhm. Yeah. For me, when I first started, the measurements started going down before the weight really started dropping for me. And so they call them non-scale victories. I mean, when we've got it in our head, we want to lose weight so many times. We just look at the number on the scale, but we don't see the other wins that we have. Now, Scott, I don't think you measured anything.
No.
Since you're not out overweight or anything, and you don't have high blood pressure like I did or do. I have to keep control of that. And I don't think you had any skin tags either.
No.
Yeah, I had some skin tags, but then I had my doctor remove them and they weren't coming back. Even before I started. Oh, maybe I had one or two, but I don't have any, which is good. Okay, so then in the workbook, Dr. Boz goes through some tests that you can do at home, or you can ask your doctor to do, just so you can watch how your health does. Now, when I had testing before I started keto, I didn't know at that point I was going to start keto. I went to the doctor for a checkup in August, and she was displeased with my blood pressure, and she was not happy with my blood work. And she's like, you're borderline diabetic. And I'm like, yeah. And she says, well, your father was diabetic. And, so it's only a matter of time. We'll just keep an eye on it. And I mean, she didn't give any suggestions on what I could do to help myself, and the whole blood pressure thing, it was like, here, let's try this other drug, there were no suggestions about what to do for my blood pressure. She didn't even tell me to go walk the dog or get any physical exercise, just here, take this pill. And I think that's one thing that's lacking with a lot of doctors is they don't have any alternatives other than pills and surgery, So Dr. Boz suggests you get an A1C test, a vitamin D test, an omega-3 test, and all of these are available in test kits at, relatively affordable costs. And then the ones she suggests that your doctor do are uric acid and ALT, which is an enzyme for liver health, HSCRP, and a CAC. Well, to be honest with you, I personally wouldn't go for a CAC right away because that can get you in a lot of trouble. The CRP is a test of inflammation to see what kind of inflammation you've got going in the body. The CAC is that coronary artery calcium test. And from what I understand, anything under 100 is good. Your arteries are good to go. The closer to 0 you are, the better.
Mine was 0.
Yeah. And
I was happy.
I am sure mine was up there. I haven't taken one. I haven't asked to do one. But I'm sure mine was up there before I started keto 2 years ago. My cholesterol was up, everything was up. My liver enzymes were through the roof. A ferritin, that checks your iron in the blood. When you've got enough iron in the blood, the body can repair itself better. Then your triglycerides, HDL. But she then suggests not to repeat these tests until you are successfully producing ketochemistry for at least 12 weeks. So that's 3 months at least ketochemistry. Now, in one of her videos on YouTube, she talks about not doing your cholesterol testing for at least 6 months after switching to ketochemistry, because it will have a period of time where it goes up and your doctor will start saying, oh, you need a statin and everything. And so in that video, she actually says to avoid testing for 6 months. So Tammy, did you do any testing right before you started keto, or you just jumped in?
I think I was doing some sort of keto before I even started the group. So no, I didn't do any of that. Like I said, I don't have any of these problems. I don't have, I've never had my A1C tested until my last one, and I was at 5, and I've never had sugar problems. I do have uric acid problems, and I've been taking drugs for that for 10 years or more. So there's no sense on that. I did have a CAC done last year. And I'm looking at I keep all my, what does she say about greater than vitamin D, greater than 50. So mine was 75 when I had it last. So the things that I'm worried about, I have checked, and other things I don't worry about it. I have wonderful blood cholesterol, at least for the triglycerides, and my triglycerides are super low at 45. And my HDL is super high at 86. So no problem. So the things I want to measure, I don't even have a problem with any of them. So I'm a healthy ketoer.
Yeah. Now I know Scott went to the doctor, but not because he was going on keto, and he got some blood work done. I think it was because you were having some fatigue or something, honey, and everything.
Yes, I think so. Yeah.
Pretty much normal. Or was your vitamin B level low or something?
I forget.
Yeah. So see, Scott is like you. He doesn't have any of these health problems, and he doesn't have to worry about it. Then the next portion of the workbook goes on to cupboard therapy. And for those who don't know about cupboard therapy, it's where you go through your cupboards and your fridge and your freezer, and you pull out everything that's going to be a problem. All the chips, all the cereal, all the instant oatmeal, all the cookies, all the crackers, all the starchy vegetables, and the pre-made meals, like your French fries or onion rings that you can just bake in the oven, and get rid of it. Donate it to a food bank, give it to a friend you don't like, whatever, get rid of it. And really, that is very helpful to me. Now, Scott seems to have an iron will. He can avoid things very easily. I mean, I think I could have a chocolate cake sitting on the counter for a month with him and keep telling him don't eat it, and he wouldn't touch it. He wouldn't. Me, that sucker's gone. 48 hours max. It's gone.
The German chocolate or just regular? Just asking.
Scott.
Well, see, this theory doesn't
Asking for
work
a
in my
friend.
house. This doesn't work in my house because my husband is not keto. And
Right,
so I
yeah.
can't throw anything away. We have all kinds of stuff out there that, but I am more like Scott, and I just don't eat it. It can be sitting out and I can just not eat it. I do have some problem foods, but for the most part, I only have one problem food, and I don't have it in the house at the moment. But I can't go out and throw everything away in my house because I have a partner who is not keto. So you just have to have that strong will like Scott.
Yeah. Now we have an adult daughter living with us that does not follow keto. And she is very tempting to me, but the good thing is she keeps all her junk food locked in a cabinet. So her cereal and her chips and everything. Now, occasionally do I say to her, hey, can I have some of your corn chips? Yeah. And I give her a bowl and she counts them out, because it's 11 tortilla chips is like 16 carbs. And she counts them out and gives them to me.
I even went to the Mexican restaurant last Friday night and did not have not one chip that was sitting on my table.
Wow, Tammy, I
can do it if I hadn't been to the Mexican restaurant since January when I started, back in strong, but when I was doing keto really good, I never had chips when I would go the rest. Then of course I got lax and I gained weight and I would eat chips the whole thing, so I'd be like, oh, this is my carbs for the week and I'm going to eat all I want. So, but now I'm back doing it strict and I did not have not one chip. So I was proud of myself. I didn't even cheat or anything.
I wish I was more like you and Scott, but I'm not. And so life is rough.
Yeah.
But I will survive. So like Tammy said, for many people, cupboard therapy is not exactly doable. I have other friends who, they got 3 or 4 children and a husband, and none of them want to do keto. And so they're on their own, and God bless them, they're doing fine. I don't know what I'd do if I had to cook, pizza and spaghetti and onion rings and everything for a family that wasn't following keto all the time, like me. And then I sit there and I eat my pork chop. I would have a pity party all the time.
Well, in my situation, my husband works second shift, so I'm home alone every night. So I cook what I want. Tonight I had bacon and eggs. And sometimes I just have less. I'm not really hungry. After you've been on keto for a while, you're just not hungry all the time. And so it's hard for me to come home and eat stuff. And I know I can fast. But anyway, I had bacon and eggs tonight. So I don't have to cook for other people, which is a plus, because you're right. The temptation in front of your face when you got to cook that stuff or make foods for a family that's not keto, that's a whole separate challenge. And I'm glad I don't have to do that.
Yeah. Now the next page 29, she has a listing of fattening foods, which is easy. And I actually have photocopied this for people who don't have the workbook. I've photocopied it for them to try and help them, figure out what they're going to eat. And so bread, cereals and grains, fruit juices, fruit, beans, peas and nuts, milk, carb-filled vegetables, snacks, and sweets. And usually after they read this, they say, well, what's left?
Meat and vegetables.
I said meat and non-carb filled vegetables. They're like, well, okay. And then page 30, she talks about the trouble clubs. And these are the doctor club people. And I I, to an extent, was a doctor club person. I was not taking medications other than one pill for my blood pressure when I started keto. But you should see a doctor before you start keto. If you take blood pressure medications, if you have less than 25% of your kidney function, if you take Coumadin or any other blood thinner, if you take a diuretic prescription, commonly known as a pee or water pill, if you inject insulin daily, and if you drink alcohol daily. And so if you said yes to any of those, you need to discuss this with your doctor. Now, the thing is this is doable, even though you have any or all of these issues. Keto is still doable and keto can still be safe, but you have to be aware. So, it makes me a little nervous sometimes when I tell clients, all right, but you're a diabetic and you're injecting insulin and you have 3 blood pressure medications and blah, blah, blah. I want you to see your doctor before you start keto. That they go to their doctor and their doctor says, oh, keto is dangerous. Keto's going to kill you. No, you can't take it. Well, then they're gone. They don't decide to do it. So there is a risk. And then the next page, page 31, she talks about the 200 club, tracking your carbs using the Chronometer app for 3 days before you start. If you're eating more than 200 carbs a day, you've got to slow down. You've got to get it, start wheedling it down, but don't just jump in. And that ends the first section of the workbook, all of the prep, getting ready to start keto. And so next week we'll go on to section 2, keto's first week. And does anybody have any comments about the prep to keto? Anything you did other than what we discussed here before you started keto? No? Scott?
I just started.
Anything?
I'm sorry, what was the question?
He wasn't even paying attention, Tammy. The question is, did you do anything else before you started keto, other than the things that have been mentioned in the last week and this week?
Oh, to start the keto process,
Yeah.
to prepare for going keto.
Yeah,
Well, I looked up different foods and things on Chronometer to see, how much carb they had and what kind of nutrients they had, so that I could have a diet that was low in carb but yet high in nutrients.
Mhm. So just more of that prep of learning what foods were low carb,
Yeah.
as
Yeah.
opposed to what you were used to eating and it was higher carb. Okay, yeah. For me, the starting keto was, I read the book a couple of times. I took notes on the book. She didn't have this workbook when I started. So and the book was, the Any Way You Can book was good, but it didn't, there wasn't a page in the books that said, this is the roadmap to do keto, And so I watched a great number of videos online, Dr. Boz videos online. And then I started finding Dr. Berry and Dr. Berg and a few other people and started watching them as well as I geared up. And I realized right away I was eating way too many carbs and I started cutting back on them. And when something ran out, like my gluten-free pancake mix, I just didn't buy it again. And I didn't do cupboard therapy because I live with other people that weren't at that moment going on keto. And so I couldn't do it. I did it within my own stuff, but I couldn't do it within the entire stuff of the household. Okay, well, I think I'm going to turn my camera on for another second and say goodbye. and I'll figure out the camera by next week. So there I am for a moment. I actually exist. I do not look like some strange thing until now. So I'll say goodnight, and I'm going to close out this recording.